Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is the 23rd of January. It is Thursday, and today we'll start with Nvidia. And I have to emphasize, underline that this is for educational purposes only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever meant or intended doing this little video, and there never was and never has and never will be. So. Please be careful if you are trading, especially if you're trading a leveraged product. Here we have Nvidia today that closed yesterday well above the cloud. We have RSI just testing the 60 threshold, but it was actually above over here previously or earlier this year. And we could be resuming bullish trend. However, it needs to take out the previous peak here just above 153. If it does that, well, then there is potential to push towards 160. Here we can see on the weekly chart there is divergence. We can see the RSI values have been declining, where the market has moved higher. But if it breaks back above the upper falling trend line here, then we are likely to push much higher. We are still in a positive sentiment, so it could cancel this divergence. I don't think it will, but it could indicate to push higher. On the overall index S&P 500, and let's just zoom in a little bit more there. Here on, you can see testing minor resistance. Yesterday, 2 days ago, yesterday, it tested previous all-time high here just below 6,100. Actually, 6,100 hit it. So we got a new all-time high yesterday, and I think we will push higher. You can see RSI now back above 60 threshold. There is potential higher to 6,225, possibly higher. On the weekly, we can see there's divergence, massive divergence here on the RSI. Indicating trend exhaustion, but again, trust the trend for now before we actually get a top of reversal indication. And this bullish engulfing pattern here is a very strong signal that we are likely to push higher towards 6,300. On the Nasdaq 100, on the Nasdaq 100, and let's just zoom in here. We have trading around the 786 retracement, actually just a little bit above it. We have the RSI back above 60 threshold here, and we can remove all these ones because they are obsolete now. And has been no divergence on the RSI, meaning that Nasdaq kind of won here with this indication of higher levels. And I think in a few days, maybe this week or next week, we will see a test of previous all-time highs, but also massive divergence here on the RSI on the weekly. But if it takes out the previous peak there at 22,133, well, and the RSI closes above its falling trend line, I think if that will occur, then we are likely to see much higher levels towards 22,700, maybe 22,700 and 23,000. On the Dow Jones index, also pushing higher here, closed above the cloud yesterday. RSI above the 60 threshold, indicating higher levels. We are likely to see a push towards previous all-time highs there. However, we do have divergence on the RSI, but still positive sentiment. We are now back above 60 threshold, so I think we will see a push towards the 45,000. EuroStoxx 50 also pushing higher, breaking above this falling trend line here on the weekly chart, as we can see, pushing higher above 5,200. We are a little bit stressed at the moment, but trust the trend. I don't have a specific target on EuroStoxx 50. Excuse me. But there is a potential to towards 5,300. I don't think we'll get it at first take. I think we will have a little bit of a correction before next move higher. If it slides back below 5,100, maybe then we could be a little bit of a danger. But I think we are pushing higher here. There is divergence, as you can see here on the RSI, but again, trust the trend, and the trend is bullish. We are above 60 threshold, and we are likely to push higher. We are a little bit higher here, about a 0.25% higher here in pre-market. And looking at DAX, also very strong move. It's almost reached the 200% of this correction here towards 21,395. I think we'll reach it, and there's no divergence on the RSI, but we are a bit stressed here above 75, and I think we will see a correction here kicking in around this level. Then we see a correction, but bullish trend, and you see here on the weekly where RSI has broken above its falling trend line. That's a strong signal. There's still divergence, but again, trust the trend, and breaking above its falling trend line is a fairly strong signal. So I think it will push higher in the coming weeks. Euro dollar spiked to just a few pips below the resistance here at 104.60, 105.57. We can see what it actually hit 104.57, which is the 61.8 retracement, and the declining 55 moving average could resume downtrend if it can't take it out. And if it slides back below the trend line here, then I think we'll see downtrend resuming with a likely new lows. If it takes out 104.60, then well, we could see it pushing to 105.30, maybe even around 106 level. But I think we will see resuming downtrend. But keep an eye on that. On cable, sterling dollar, well, it hit the 38.2 retracement here at 123.70. And stayed below the falling trend line here, and if can't really break above that level here and above the falling trend line, then downtrend is likely to resume. Euro sterling, well, been stepping sideways, testing the resistance area here at 84.60 area a couple of times. It really needs to take it out with some conviction. We could still see a bit of correction back to the 38.2 retracement here around 84 before I think it will move higher. The yen pairs have been fairly muted the past few days. I mean, the dollar yen we talked about yesterday bounced off the 55 moving average and 38.2 retracement, 154, just around 155 here. Can it resume uptrend, or will it break lower and establish a downtrend? If it takes out the lows there just around 154.77, I think we'll see a push down to around 152.5, 152.55. But if it can get back above 157.5, then I think we will see it pushing towards previous peak. There's a divergence on the RSI indicating we are in for a larger correction, but if RSI moves back above 60 threshold, then I think we'll see the uptrend to resume. The euro yen testing a minor resistance here at 162.90, trying to push higher, and it should push back higher because we have the positive sentiment on the RSI, and if it moves back above 60 threshold, well, then we are likely to see it at least test 165, where there's some strong resistance. Adding to that, we have the 200 moving average. I think we'll see it. We're still above the cloud, but if it's being rejected, it can slide back here into this area around 161. So it's a little bit frustrating without a clear direction at the moment. Aussie yen, well, testing the 55 moving average. I think it will be rejected and slide back below the cloud. The 100 moving average is also adding to the resistance despite it's slightly rising. But we can see it broke below the 55, broke below the 100 here. They're both declining, indicating medium term, short to medium term bearish sentiment. And there's also negative sentiment on the RSI still. So should be sliding lower. Sterling yen currently at the 38.2 retracement at 192.74. In its bounce here, still negative sentiment, so it could resume downtrend, be below the cloud, with below all moving averages. We can see the 55 pushing lower there. We could still see the bounce taking a little bit higher, but I don't think it will move back above 195. But keep an eye on it. It could still do that, pushing up to at least in that region. If it starts sliding lower here the next couple of days, then I think we'll see downtrend resuming with a push down to around 188. Aussie dollar, well, also here in correction phase, but it can't really push to the 63. It's just a few cents below, a few pips below. There is potential up to the 38.2 retracement here at 63.44, 45. But RSI is still negative sentiment despite showing divergence, as you can see, market moved lower, and the RSI values went higher. So we should see a higher, a bigger correction. It is possible because we are above the falling trend line. There is potential up to that area, but then we have the 55 moving average also adding to the resistance in this area here. If it starts sliding back below 62, then I think we'll see the downtrend resuming with lower levels to follow, also taking out the trough there earlier in January. Dollar Canada, that has been quite volatile, but in the bigger picture hasn't really moved much between it moved much between 143 and 145, but it hasn't really moved anywhere, just basically sideways. So we need a breakout of this area here for a direction. The Sterling Canada that had a very strong bounce up to the 61.8 retracement at 178, now trading just around the 200 moving average, can hold on above it. If it starts sliding back below here in this region around 176, the downtrend is likely to resume. If it takes out 178, well, then we can see a push up to 179, which is the 786 retracement and the 100 moving average. Swiss franc and Euro Swiss got rejected here at 94.50, tested several times. I think we could see a little bit of setback back to the 94 area and maybe testing the upper rising trend line. If it really can't get above the 94.60, that is the peak here, then I think we'll see a push up to 95 area. Dollar Swiss still in correction phase. Yesterday very close to the support and retracement here, 38.2 retracement and 90 is but 90.22. Can still test it. If it breaks below, well, then we could see a push down to test the 55 moving average, maybe even all the way down to the strong support here at just around 89.15. But if it starts pushing higher and above the trend line here, then uptrend is likely to resume. Dollar index, almost similar picture, but it has bounced off the 55 correction here and the support at 107.60. I think we could adjust that a little bit. You see here, it actually touched that 107.55, I think, yeah. These lows here, there's some support. If it moves back above 108.30, then I think the correction could be over and uptrend could resume. Gold pushing higher yesterday, pausing a little bit today, but let's go through it. So we see we had formed this symmetrical triangle-like pattern here, and if it's a guide, well, the from the bottom to the top around this level indicated by the vertical arrow here, and then I added to the breakout price. It gives a rule of thumb potential up to 29.30, and that also illustrated with this Fibonacci extension here. I have added measured it here and then added to the breakout price. You can see this one and these red ones here, and we are very close to 38.2% of the this move here, but there should normally be to potential up to at least the 61.8, which is at the 2,834. If we are measuring from the latest correction here and then projected higher, we can see it paused at the 786 retracement, then it took out the peak there, and the 138 is at 2,780, but it should be able to push to at least the 161.8 at 28.14.15 level, but could also, you can see they are concentrating here, they are on the same level. The 176.4 projection is the same as the 61.8. So there should be potential up there on the medium term. Moving on to silver, that is struggling quite a bit. Still in this rising channel though, but struggling at the 31 level. And what we can do, we can add a horizontal line there just below the 31. So I'll say 31 level, and you can see the RSI struggling to break back above 60 threshold. I need both to be broken above 31, a close above, and RSI to close above 60 threshold for really confirming a bullish trend. Otherwise, it will be struggling quite a bit. Copper still sliding back in a correction phase here, and we talked about it the past couple of days. It could dip down to the 61.8 retracement and 480.5. But it could also bounce here from the 50% correction. Let's just zoom in there. Still a double bottom like pattern here, but really it's struggling a little bit. I think we'll still move about after a correction, but for now it is, the RSI is actually supporting it. The RSI is supporting because it's still in a positive sentiment, but it needs to get back above 60 threshold to resume that. WTI crude oil is still in a correction phase, currently at the 200 moving average and very close to 50% of this uptrend here. I think it could still dip down to the 61.8 retracement, just above $73, and we also have some support in this area. And then I think we'll see it bouncing because the positive sentiment is still there. There's no divergence on the RSI indicating we are likely to bounce back. But for now, it's still in a bearish correction phase. The Brent crude oil is still around the 200 moving average also, and around this 38.2 retracement here at 78.57. If it can hold that and then will bounce, well, then we could see a push back towards 82, 83, and the RSI is telling us that's actually possible because positive sentiment, and if it moves back above 60 threshold, that is likely to resume uptrend. However, if it takes out that little spike down there, 78.46, then I think we'll see it pushing to 77.30 and maybe even all the way down to 76. It's not unlikely. Dutch TTF gas still in a bullish trend, but it needs to close above 51 to push higher. The RSI is telling us that is actually possible, and we have talked about it so many times on the weekly. There is potential higher, and let's just zoom in. I added a few more things to it. As you can see here, we have a potential double bottom pattern. It's not that convinced. Normally we will see a much stronger move up here, but it needs to close back above a 56.79 to confirm that. So that's why I have the question mark. And we're currently trading at the 786 retracement here at 49.40 area, spiking above a little bit of this downtrend here. So still uptrend, but it's not a slam dunk just yet. But I think it will push towards 55. The US nat gas or Henry Hub gas trading around this area here at $4. We are in a bullish trend. It's not convincing, but we are in a bullish trend. If it takes out the peak up there at 4.37, well, then there's potential up to in the neighborhood around $5. Moving on to the yields, and I think we should zoom in on the daily chart here. We have US 10-year yield still dancing around the 786 retracement to 457. Key support at 450. Yeah, I know this says 451, but I'm saying 450. It could test it, but if it starts moving back above 465 and towards 470, then I would consider uptrend to resume, and positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence, indicating we're likely to see that. And if we get the RSI back above 60 threshold, then that is likely the scenario to play out new highs, and are still bullish on yields. 2-year still above the rising trend line here. In bullish trend, higher high, higher low, higher high, and higher lows. So still in a bullish trend. Moving on to the European, the EU 10-year, still in the correction phase here. Bounced from around the 50% of the uptrend here at 247. Dipped a little bit below. If it starts moving back above 250 level, well, then I think we will see uptrend resuming, and with the RSI still in a positive sentiment, no divergence, we should see that scenario to play out. The UK 10-year, well, it has been dancing around the 786 retracement here, 460. Key support at 452, I would say 450. Because it could just spike a little bit below. We have the 55 moving average coming up. If it starts moving back above the 470, well, then expect that uptrend to resume. And finally, Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin is taking a breather at the moment. I mean, it did perform a new all-time high, and I think also, all-time high close. So we are in a bullish trend, positive sentiment, but it is not a convincing push at the moment, I would say. I think we could slide back a little bit. So very volatile at the moment. Seems like it's quite nervous. Maybe it needs some guidance from the new presidential administration in the US. Same with Ethereum. You can see that is actually less convincing, sliding lower here, and could be stuck in this range here between 3,600 and 3,000, maybe 2,900 for actually quite some time. I need some direction. However, you can see lower low, lower high, lower low, and lower high. So we are actually in a bearish short-term trend on Ethereum. So that is lagging the Bitcoin quite a bit. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and talk to you later.